Yes, it is.
It's only 4 foot deep.
It is remote. Yep.
That hole, I think it
We're still
was
on.
7.
Yeah, man.
Being that it's 5:30, I'll call to order the Downtown Development Authority of Comstock Township Board meeting for Wednesday, June 25, 2025. First is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, corrections, comments?
Not for me.
Being that there are none, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Move with a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Next, we have the approval of the May 28, 2025 meeting minutes. I've had a chance to look over those. They're emailed out by Steve.
Tried to make them as brief as possible, focusing on motions.
Any other questions or
Action.
comments? I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of May 28 as submitted.
Okay.
Motion with support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have public comment. If you'd like to make a comment, please approach the podium, state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Emily Murphy, and my address is 6355 Woodlea Drive. I arrived too late at the May 28th DDA meeting to make a public comment. I wanted to make sure to address some disappointing behavior by a board member within the community. I work with young adults with developmental disabilities through Kalamazoo RESA. As a job coach, I work with these students at partner sites in the community to develop and practice job skills in hopes of obtaining gainful, meaningful employment. On May 23rd, I was at Meyer working on hard skills with 3 students. One of these students has life-limiting anxiety. She had only been to the work site 3 times during the school year because of this. She had built up enough confidence to try it that day. Another student is nonverbal, but uses a communication device such as an iPad. We were approached by the director while working on our skills. The director initially approached one of my students asking where a specific product was. This student takes time to respond as he uses his communication device. The director asked several times in quick succession. I approached my student and the director explaining that we were student volunteers developing job skills. The director then questioned whether we knew where anything was while also asking where this specific product was in a very dismissive tone. I explained where he could find this specific product, and he continued to question myself and my students whether we really knew where stuff was in the store. Because of this aggressive and demeaning interaction, my student, who experiences anxiety, had to leave the store shortly after that interaction because her anxiety was so heightened and unmanageable. She had told me that she will never try to work again. As for my other students, we used this interaction as a learning opportunity and discussed how to deal with aggressive and rude customers. It was especially disappointing to realize during this interaction we were talking to the director of the DDA. Thank you.
My name's William Knight. Y'all don't need my address. What happened at the last meeting was more than unprofessional. It was disrespectful and deeply inappropriate. The chair admitted the executive committee met to discuss the vacancy on this board, and in the same breath, she acknowledged that I had asked to be included on those same meetings. I was excluded anyway. That wasn't an oversight, that was intentional, and it was wrong. Then, her and Evan led a public ambush against the supervisor. He followed the law, he made a legal appointment with the advice of legal counsel, and communicated it clearly. The outrage that followed wasn't about policy, it was about power. Let's be honest, they weren't mad about the process, they were mad because the supervisor outplayed them and outsmarted them. It was obvious who this board wanted to pick, and when they didn't get their way, they turned it into a performance. And this so-called rating scale, I've seen it. It was thrown together after applications were submitted with criteria that just so happened to match a personal friend of the board chair. That's not transparency, that's favoritism. And let me get ahead of the excuse before I know someone is thinking. You were excluded because you were one of the applicants. That might sound reasonable if I had been notified, but I wasn't. Not once, not by email, not by phone, not in public session. No transparency, no courtesy, just silence. You can't retroactively justify exclusion with a flimsy excuse with no effort was made to communicate anything to me. If this board wants to talk about fairness and integrity, it should start by following its own standards. You can't change the rules mid-process, exclude people from meetings, and then accuse someone else of being dishonest. Then there's the accusation of the supervisor hasn't done anything for the DA. Let me be clear. Without the supervisor, that $5,000 donation from Landscape Forms wouldn't have even happened. You can say it wasn't done independently, but let's not pretend that connection wasn't done directly through him. That's leadership, that's initiative, and that's exactly the kind of support this DDA claims to want, unless it comes to someone they're trying to discredit. And if that wasn't fair enough, or if that wasn't enough, board members continue to confront the supervisor after the meeting ended. That kind of pressure after adjournment is unprofessional and out of line. Here's my honest opinion of the DDA. The DDA is starting to look like a waste of time and public resources. It spends more than it brings in, and some members only show up when there's power to grab, not when there's work to be done. The public's watching, and even if they're not, I am, and I'll share it by any means necessary. I'm here to serve, I'm here to work, but I won't sit silently while this board abuses its platform and forgets the power it has and who it's supposed to answer to.
Any further positive comments? Being that there are none, we'll move on to item number 5, is the approval of the revenue and expenditure monthly report.
Yeah, let me,
Is your microphone on?
pardon me?
Microphone.
Sorry. Let me go over the budget real quick, because I wanted to be sure that you were aware that, it was brought up in the previous meeting that we didn't run a balanced budget. We didn't have enough revenues to cover our proposed expenses. In January 8th of this year, the board approved the budget, which had shown that we were short of about $55,000. This is what you see on the screen here. And
Based on the annual revenue and expenditure, not overall, correct?
Yeah. This shortfall was proposed to be covered by fund balance. And this board approved a fund balance allocation to cover programs, projects, policy initiatives, all types of planning activities. The fund balance was transferred into our revenues that in January to cover that $55,000 shortfall. The transfer was $55,679. So if you look at the next budget sheet, you'll see that we tried to, our finance director amended our revenue expense report and indicates on that in terms of available funds column, second to the last column, that he has added that $55,679 into our revenues, and that our budget is netting about $19,000. We limited some of our work this year because we were told that we were not getting, annual CIP funds that we have in the past, and that's fine. We understand the budget was tight. But we did balance our budget, and we submitted that to not only you and the board and the township board, but and it was approved at both levels, here at the DDA board level and with the township. So this is what we're working off of. We are balancing everything. We are keeping an eye on, our expenditures, and some of the items today we'll talk about whether you actually want to spend the money we allocated this year on some of the basic maintenance items, and we'll talk about that, and you can decide that maybe it's time to save some more money, or let's proceed and follow up on what we had budgeted for in 2025. So the only expenditure this past month was paying MoCo their monthly fee of $3,063 for the flowers and watering and maintenance that they do on our gateways. And we get monthly payments for 7 invoices over the year for their work under their contract. Again, this is the 3rd year of their contract. Last year of their contract, they're going to be, we will be looking at going out to bid again. And we'll see if we can adjust the budget in a way to save us some money, but I think overall they've done a good job. So, and people we've heard appreciate the flowers and investment we've made with brightening up the district with the planters and the bridge flowers. So with that, if you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions? Yes, Nate. I wanted to make one statement that Nate is representing Ben Martin. He's unable to attend the meeting tonight, and Nate serves as a deputy supervisor.
Thank you. I was going to save this for later, but since you brought up CIP funds, I thought that now's a good time. You said that you were notified that you weren't getting CIP funds this year. Can you tell me who notified the DDA board that you were not going to be receiving CIP funds this year?
The finance director was,
Okay.
we were told last year during budget season.
Yeah, I do recall. And then you were also told that you may get them during this fiscal year at some point?
He said when the state comes back to the township with any revenue sharing, if there's any funds, he would notify us. And I haven't heard of anything from Brett yet this year.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't know if there are any dollars coming. I can check and let you know, let the board know if that's a possibility or not. We've been, since the DDA was created in 2019, the first initial few years, CIP dollars contributed towards the DDA budget to some extent for the gateways, the banners, and those kind of maintenance beautification items. And up through 2023, we were getting some annual contributions from the township's CIP budget, which has helped us implement some of these initial first projects.
What does that amount to?
Initially, I think we were in the range of,
75,000.
yeah, it was like 75,000 for beautification, and we were getting,
It was for beautification and for property.
right, property, land, economic
Acquisition.
development, all those things. So that is what is making up some of the fund balance you see on our budget, where we have approximately 215,000 at the end of this year we'll have in our fund balance. Fund balance you want to use for emergencies mainly, or specific projects that were identified in the CIP program.
Follow up. So fiscal year, it was a $90,000
In 2023.
2023, and now zero. So
Right.
are you aware if a grant application was filed for CIP funds for Comstock Township?
I'm not aware of any.
Thank you.
No, I'm not aware, but I can, again, check with the finance director. You know, the CIP funds are given to pretty much all the departments of the township, you know, for streets and roads and parks and, you know, special projects, capital type of projects, or projects that are eligible under the CIP program. Each township and city usually have a CIP program to not only cover capital improvements, but some of the time it's used for land acquisition and economic development activities, beautification, maintenance.
Yeah, I applaud the beautification. I'm in favor of it. It looks great. So just for my edification, what's the process? I mean, I think the township has money right now, does it not, in a CIP fund?
They do have the funds, but from what we understand, the percentage based on revenue, they always like to stay at a threshold. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what that percent is, but they're below that, so they're trying to basically fill that pot again.
The DDA, we were told that at the end of last year, we wouldn't be receiving CIP because those CIP dollars were kind of spent last year on various projects. Not really ours, but some other department projects that took up the CIP balance. The CIP program is typically a 6-year program where you identify your first year wants and then your second year, third year, fourth year, and so on. And if the funds are available, you use the dollars to, put into that first year activities, and they're prioritized. So
We were encouraged.
we do
though,
our
to go
own
make-
CIP programming, we
Yes.
submit it to the township, other departments do the same, and then the township folds it all into the overall township CIP program. So if you look at that CIP program document, you'll see individual requests from a variety of different departments, DDA, Parks and Rec, cemeteries, there's all kinds of needs out there. It's kind of a wish list program. You ask for everything you'd like to do over 6 years, and if you get allocated a certain amount in the first year and the money's there, you typically will get that allocated in your budget.
Yeah, one last thing, I just find it striking that 90,000 in the previous fiscal year and now zero. Nothing. So
Yeah.
that's just something I noticed that is kind of striking to me, to go from 90 to zero, especially when this board when the DDA is, having to dip into its reserves as well.
Right.
So that's all I have. on
Right,
that.
yeah, and we cut substantially our activities this year to meet our budget, but we still have to, as you said, dip into our fund balance to just do the basic improvements, maintenance that we want to do.
I think Nate brings up an interesting thing. In 2018, when we established the DDA, we do have a portion of the township CIP that is designated the DDA with the actual line items that were kind of what the DDA's wishes were for the next 5 years, because I believe that's how often they revisit that. So I think that maybe we could bring that to the next board meeting, is show that document where it stands. Because I don't think we visited that probably in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
Isn't that basically the place where the beautification projects and everything come from too, though? So
that's,
where you've been cut off for the funds to be
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that?
when the DDA was created, obviously, we didn't have a lot of funds initially with the tax capture that you get from the properties in the district. I think initially it was $9,000. Well, you can't do a lot with $9,000, especially if you're trying to kick off and improve your district and brand it and beautify it. So the initial year, I think it was maybe closer to $75,000, where that was the first contribution to the DDA. And the next year, 20, 21, 22, we continued to get that annual allocation.
What also helped with that annual allocation is when we applied for some grants for beautification. I can't remember the exact names, but I think Jody received 3 grants. And so we used that for the gateways.
Yep.
And-
Irving S. Gilmore, ITC gave us money for
And there was one other one too.
gateways and banners and planters.
So we did, that's kind of what helps us too, is if the township shows interest in the DDA and supports it, the grant funds are
Yeah.
more easy to get, so.
So as a part of the overall strategy for a DDA is, relying on your city or township to contribute towards the effort. And then you go out and raise funds and get donations and get grants. to pool the money and to do the projects and implement the programs that you're trying to initiate. You know, we have 4 committees that we're trying to do work on, from maintenance, beautification, to economic development, to marketing, and our executive committee is kind of the oversight administrative committee, but those committees are tasked with, you know, helping us decide what kind of improvements and programs and projects we want to work on. And right now, if you look at our budget, our revenues are, you know, from TIF is only 22,000. Can't do a lot of projects, and especially if you're, you know, if you have a staff person that you have to pay, that dips into that significantly, and then you have to go out and raise funds for the actual projects and programs.
So you mentioned, Chair Ketchy, that Jody in the past has written grants and had grants awarded to the township.
When we
Are you-
initially started the DDA, yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so who is tasked with that right now?
I am.
Okay.
That's, for instance, we applied to ISG for the grant for the riverfront project. We got that. We have to raise $45,000 to get the $100,000 allocated. That's specifically for our economic development project, the riverfront redevelopment. I've gotten some additional dollars from ITC, who has helped us put funds into our facade program, where we've helped a couple, 2 or 3 businesses with their signage and awnings. So that's helped us not having to dip into our fund balance. We do get grants. There's a lot of grants out there. John keeps sending me new grant programs, and we do need to keep submitting, you know. Yeah. The money's out there, and, you know, it just takes time. It takes commitment of the board here to, you know, go out and help contact foundations, businesses, and that's what we're trying to do with this $45,000 match, is raise money to get money.
Okay. Any other questions on the revenue expenditure monthly report? If not, I'll just look for a motion to accept as submitted. Larry, do you want to make the first motion?
Sure.
And I'll second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Next is the old business DDA board. Review of DDA budget information request.
Yeah, in your packet, I have shared with you a request from Supervisor Martin, who sent an email to me and copied Sandra and Scott Hess requesting budget information, background information on contracts and any outstanding debt we have. And we responded. I responded back to him with an email and hopefully addressed all his questions. I don't know. I haven't heard back from Ben in terms of, is it what he was looking for? Is there any additional information? Is there a specific reason he wanted this? You know, background information, you know, does it relate to concerns about our budget, or what our goals are, what we're trying to target some of our budget dollars for? So it's kind of an open discussion item. We were just hoping to get some response from Ben on if we addressed his concerns.
I think the end of the email says something about, so that it could help in making some decisions moving forward that are being made. And so I think that's what it said. So I was like wondering if there's like an update.
Yeah. Well, it's in your packet and I've got it on
Oh,
the
yes, it
screen
says,
here.
I appreciate your prompt response so we can, oh, scroll down, it was down there. So we can factor it into upcoming decisions. So I was just curious if there was,
Yeah. So I just hadn't heard back and
okay.
didn't have anything to share with you at this time. Any questions on that? comments?
We didn't store the baskets with them last year, did we? Last winter?
We didn't what?
Store them? They just came in and picked them up this fall or this spring and filled them and
We
back out?
we didn't store the planters, the big
Right.
planters. The
And last
baskets
year-
on the bridge, we did
The year
store it.
before we did.
Correct.
Yeah, for the first 2 years, we did store 'em.
What were they?
There was a cost to that.
What was the charge for the storage?
The storage charge was like $600
$600 for the 3 to 3 to
for the 35 planters,
for about
picking them up,
5
taking
months.
them, and storing them, yeah,
5 months.
yeah. It's more just man hours, labor
Yeah.
to pick them up, transport, 'em, and then bring them back.
They weren't charging you space then, really. They just,
Yeah.
just labor.
Well, we would store them at Riverside, who would then, in the spring, fill them with soil and put the plants in, and then MoCo would go out, pick them up, and transport them back.
So they
We
were
were trying to save some money.
readily available for the person that wanted to
Yeah.
get them planted and everything when they were ready to do it then.
Yeah, this
So it was
was
at their convenience.
one of our efforts to save a little money by keeping them out there, and really, they did fine over the winter. One got hit by a car,
Ah,
or
that was a
actually
snowplow.
by a snowplow
Yep.
in a parking lot. So it was fine keeping them out there, but we didn't have the volunteers or the staff to go out and take flowers out and soil out and plant them on site. Some cities plant them on site, leave them out and plant them on site. It was just so much easier to have them taken over to the florist and filled there and brought back. So we may change that approach when we rethink the next contract for doing the planters.
And,
Next year.
yeah, River Street Flowerland, really, they take a lot of pride in doing the planters.
Yeah.
And so we kind of honored their request to, can we do that? But there's much to be done by the Maintenance and Beautification Committee this fall to figure out what we intend to do for the next years. So, thanks for asking that. MDA 2025 Summer Workshop Video Discussion.
Yeah, I went to the MDA workshop conference in early June, and I want to say it was probably one of the better conferences we had. Probably had 100 DDA directors across the state and vendors and sponsors at the event. Some really great sessions that I want to share with you, and we have them on video, so I want to pick out a few that I want you to hopefully set aside some time and look at these presentations. You know, some are on the legal aspects of Open Meetings Act, others are related to building relationships, and then others, you know, just general projects and housing. In fact, Mary Balkma was one of our presenters up there on the housing program at the county. So it went very well, so I'll be sending that to you hopefully in the next few days. That's it for that item.
Okay. Then we'll go on to the committee updates.
Yeah, economic development, Comstock Center redevelopment project. Really, I could just jump down to the ISG grant. Per discussion at last month, you allowed me to make a formal request to ISG. Our deadline was June 1st to get the $45,000 match secured so that we could get the grant. It's very typical that communities will come back to them and ask for an extension, and we asked for a 3-month extension on raising the additional funds to meet our $45,000 match. So again, we've got some money that has been pledged to date, i.e. Landscape Forums, some of the other larger businesses in the community. I know, and I've been on most of everybody to go out and try to knock on doors, and we've got some small donations, we got some bigger donations. I would say we're around $20,000. We still need 25,000 more to meet that deadline, so we'll keep at it. You know, the economy is still pretty tough out there for small business and for people generally, so anything will help in terms of donations. The ISG Foundation, Irving S. Gilmore, the reason they required this $45,000 match is they want to see community support for this project. And their main emphasis in the overall redevelopment project on the corner here, they want to see the riverfront developed into a trailway and opening up access to the river on this component, which that's why they're giving us $100,000 for a mix of land acquisition and design work for the riverfront trailway component of it. So very, very important part of the overall plan.
Right, so we don't really have a lot of, not much to report on the riverfront redevelopment project. You just mentioned the ISG grant, facade improvement program update, anything new with that?
Yeah, I continue to talk to Jean at Kate's Cupboards about her sign. It had been blown off as a part of the storm a few weeks ago, and she's pursuing the signage, and we're trying to use our facade program to help her maybe with a new awning to complement her new sign and design there. So hopefully I'll be back with an actual application. On another note, the Comstock building, I don't know what else to call it. It was a creamery on East Michigan at 26th Street. It's up for sale. I did get a call from an individual who said that they were related to the original owners, and he and his family were interested in buying it and had been asking about our facade program. So I'm trying to get in touch with a realtor, see if there's any movement on a purchase there. Overall, property's not moving. The Comerica Bank building, not hearing anything on, potential sales on that. A couple of the others, there was a building on River Street that had a sign in front of it. I see that that's been removed, so I've been trying to track these and find out what's going on in terms of is there interest, no interest, and we are continuing to discuss the property for the redevelopment project with the owners. All three of the owners that make up that project site, we are in touch. I've been in touch with all three. So it's a lengthy process, but I think it is the best process. And once again, we'll have MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, assisting us this year. Each year, we're eligible for $35,000 from them to, work on these target projects like the redevelopment site that we've been working on with them. So that covers the property inventory question, or item 2.
All right, then we'll move on to beautification, maintenance, infrastructure committee. I think we have an action item there as well. So.
Yeah, there's an action item, but I did want to show you on the screen here and let you see the new gateway sign that we just had installed about a month ago. This was the one that was hit on 26th Street. The vendor did a nice job on replacing that. It looks nice. Our bridge baskets are up. The planters and baskets went up a little over a week and a half ago. And with the rains like this, we probably won't need much watering, but MOCO is keeping up on that. I do want to indicate that we have installed our new security camera. We worked with Metro Transit on allowing us to attach a pole and our new camera on the top of it. So it is functional, and we're keeping track, and it records every movement you can imagine on the bridge. This is a capture of one of the videos from the camera up there. Any type of movement of person or vehicle is recorded, and I get it on my phone. After 60 days, it's deleted off my phone, but as I keep an eye on it, I can download important ones. This is all about keeping an eye on vandalism in the area and trying to deter it. One thing I did want to ask is, and this is not the item, but on 26th Street, you approved purchasing 2 new banners, welcome banners, to put on one of the poles. One of the poles was hit over near Orem Street, and the new pole's up. You authorized purchase of 2 banners. We've got the banners. It's going to cost about $350 to get the banners installed on the pole. And I'm just asking for your support and approval to go to Sign Art, who hangs our banners, and ask them to reinstall these 2 new
So does it mean
banners.
putting the brackets on? And
Brackets, hanging the banners, yeah. The brackets are screwed into the wooden pole. We have the hardware.
What would be the
We just need somebody with a lift truck that can get up there and, pardon me?
Maybe, I mean, my suggestion is wait until we replace the next banners. So we have 2 less summer banners up and include the installation of the brackets in the next banners that go up.
Yeah, they might charge us a little bit, but maybe, I asked them if they could fold it into the existing banner program, because these are, it's just the fact that we're not on their schedule at this time. They got to get a truck out, staff time, so on and so forth. So if you want them up right now, it's going to cost us about $350. If you want to wait, we could do that. And the next install or swap of banners usually occurs in October for the winter holiday.
I thought we have a fall. You have a fall.
Yeah, we have a fall, and then the winter ones go up after
Yeah.
Christmas. You're right.
So when does the fall one happen?
The falls go up September sometime.
It's like 3 months.
Pardon?
It would be just roughly 2 months with
Yeah.
the banner on the pole.
Yeah.
Save $350.
So, anybody want
Thoughts?
to make a motion?
Recommendation?
I'd recommend that we wait.
I'd second that.
All right, so we have a motion to not install the brackets and 2 new banners that we just purchased.
Yep.
Does everyone understand the motion? Then we'll go, any questions?
Did they give us an exact, if we waive, or you just?
No, I haven't asked them.
But
I'll have to ask them, is there a way they can fold this into the fall swap?
they might ask to charge us a little bit extra,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
maybe as much as
Right.
$350. That makes more sense.
Yeah. If I have it right, each swap costs $500.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
still save us.
Oh, yeah,
partial of that $350.
Right.
Make more sense.
Yep.
So we have a motion on the floor. Any other questions? Everyone understand the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
The last maintenance item is, last couple of years, we have hired MoCo to go in and help us clean up the weeded, infested, tree-covered stone areas next to the bridges. And I don't know if that's the only copy of a photo I have. But they would go in and trim down and remove all the weeds that are growing up, and it looks pretty unsightly. The last couple of years, they've charged us about $900 to $1,000 for the four stone riverbank areas. Is this one of the things that you want to continue, or do you want to hold off on this? They're only going to get bigger and fill in, and you know, it looks a lot nicer with this cleaned up, but if you. Parks and Rec?
So they can't stick a weed eater over there an extra 15 feet?
They've never done it.
That doesn't mean they can.
Huh?
That doesn't mean they can.
I mean,
We could ask them, but they've.
yeah, but I mean, that's part of the park, right?
Not really, that's more of
So who owns
riverfront.
that piece of property?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you. It may be part of the state riverfront. It was put in when the bridge was put in. It's not really a city thing, it's more of an aesthetic thing than anything. But if you don't attack it, all these scrub trees and shrubs are gonna just continue to,
So we did this last year,
last 2 years.
last 2 years.
Yep.
I mean, just because of our budget, I would kind of say, maybe we hold off a year, maybe we mention it to parks. Because you're right, it is part of the parks only on this corner.
Yeah, this one's the only one close to Merrill Park.
Yeah, it's right there.
And then you got one next to Speedway. And then you got the one next to the salon
But
on the
where's
north
the
side.
actual property line?
Yeah, well-
I mean, I understand, but where does the property line fall at?
Well, I would
person
say
owns the property.
the riverfront property line would extend to, let me show you on here, probably to the edge of this sidewalk on the park. So it probably, the property line probably runs up to here, I'm guessing.
But the city or the township mows all this grass out
The
here,
township mows all this,
even though it's not
the Parks and Rec
basically
people.
what you're saying is the property line.
right.
So they don't have no problem with that, but they won't touch this.
No, they don't maintain that.
I think because it's not really hindering anything from the bridges for the DDA, I feel like maybe we should not
I think-
engage in anything this year
I think part of the other reason we clean it up is,
for Fall Fest.
well,
Is one
no,
of the
it's,
reasons, right?
you've got people climbing down here, safety, and it ends up being a hangout and a trash collecting spot. And so it ends up being, ends up being more of a natural look, but it's just a little more unsightly.
What is the state easement on that bridge? What is their line? How
I
far?
would say the state probably owns the bridge. The road commission is in charge of, I think, maintaining it, but probably right before you get to the bus shelter there. There's a little stairway that goes down to the park.
East to west, off the side of the bridge, how far out do they go?
Oh, probably just to the edge of the embankment or the bridge itself. I don't think they go much beyond east or west. They maintain the bridge, road, and I think they maintain the structure. But beyond that, they don't do any
They don't do
maintenance.
anything at all?
No.
Maybe what we can do is, Larry, you have some great questions, is really find out who would be in charge of maintaining it, whether it be the road commission, the parks on that corner, and really find out.
Because each corner is going to be different unless it's state-owned land.
Exactly.
Well, I can tell you that the stones were put in there as a part of the bridge project. Whether the road commission will address it or not, I don't know if they address it anywhere else in the county, but we can ask. I can ask.
Well, the stone would be there basically to keep it from
Yeah,
collapsing, from
Eroding.
runoff.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, and
But who actually owns it
and
and
you
how
try to
far out?
prohibit people from going under the bridge too. That's why those big stones are there, but doesn't seem to stop
It's a
people
nice place
hiding
to
under the
fish.
bridge.
It's a nice place to fish.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice and cool underneath the bridge. There's a couple holes in there where people like to fish, and that's true. My wife loves to fish underneath the bridge.
Yeah, I saw her down there when I was putting up
And
the
because there's
security
pools
camera.
under there where the fish collect. but other things do happen down there. I
Yeah,
do agree with you.
It's a cleanup, safety, and aesthetic issue, and could we hold off for a year? Sure, we could, but if,
I would look to see who first actually owns or is responsible for that property, and then we could come back and decide,
yeah, we
you
could,
know,
we could.
because $900 to weed four corners of that bridge is an awful lot of money. I
Well,
did
it's-
landscape work for over 15 years. That's a lot of money.
It's pretty tricky areas, though.
Yeah.
To climb through, especially when you got,
Yeah, but still, it's a lot for what they're doing. If they, especially if they do it on a regular basis, you know, it would be, if it was maintained properly, then you wouldn't have big trees coming up. There's things you could do to slow down the
Yeah.
progress of growth
right.
without contaminating the water. There's
It's
a lot
too
of
bad
things
they
to be
didn't put a
done.
weed barrier underneath the stone when they built it, but that didn't happen, and obviously,
Yeah, but there's
Ends
things
up
that can be
being
done that would help.
yeah, and because it's close to the river, I don't think they're allowed to spray it.
No, they can't put too many, they'd have to be very choosy on what they could put down in chemicals
Right.
because of contamination.
Okay, we'll check with Road Commission, see if they can
Thank you.
Nate, you
tell
have a
us where we're
question?
heading.
Just a quick observation. So the DDA has been responsible for this in the past?
We've taken it upon ourselves to address it.
Okay.
It really started when we started having the Fall Fest here. We knew that that was going to happen, so we started to maintain, especially that, and we thought, well, we'll do the other four, or the other three, so.
Yeah, I think since there's no CIP funds coming to the DDA from the township this year, then it shouldn't be incumbent upon the DDA to be responsible to take care of this. If the township wants to give the 900 to the DDA,
Yeah.
and then the DDA hire that out, then, you know, I guess that's just an idea.
Yep.
All right. Then so, good with that?
Yep, I'll make contact with the Road Commission, see who's responsible.
Very good. All right, next is the Event Special Program Committee.
Yeah, the Parks and Rec, Katie at Parks and Rec, who's the Parks and Rec director, has asked me if the DDA would like to continue its partnership on the Fall Fest project program event. It's usually mid-September in Merrill Park. In the past 2-3 years, we've participated. Last year, we budgeted 1,000, and I think we spent about $650. We paid for music, we paid for
Ice cream.
ice cream, and then we paid for miscellaneous signage and general support. So I just want to be able to tell them if we're in or not. We want to be involved. It's in our budget under community promotions.
I was going to say, I think we should do the Fall Fest. I mean, I've participated the last couple of years, and I think it's great, and it keeps growing.
Yeah, it does.
So
Does.
definitely, I think we should.
And the fact that we cut paddle and pour this year because, one, budget reasons, and two, it was a major effort to implement and without any staff and volunteers really helping. But we wanted to look at that program in the future too, coming back. But Fall Fest has been growing and becoming more.
And did you say that we do have it in the budget on that
We
line
do.
for events? Okay.
We have 2,000 in our budget. We budgeted 1,000 last year for this,
And we only did
and we
600.
spent about 650, I think it was.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'm willing to, so if you have any, if we partner with them and if they have any informational meetings, just,
yep, I think we pretty much have it down to a process, a system, so. So,
hopefully we can get everybody on the DDA to come and help.
so our
I mean, it's only-
consensus, or you want to vote on it, or or just commit to doing it?
I think we just commit to doing it.
Okay.
I mean, well, I'm sure, when we meet with them and find out what they would like us to contribute, then we'll come and report to the board, and if there's
Yeah.
any concerns from them.
If it's okay, I'm gonna just kind of set aside 1,000. Hopefully it won't be that much, but, you know, if they have some new events or new things that they want to include this year, maybe we can help out a little bit more, but we'll see. I just want to tell them that
Yeah.
we're in or not, so I'll tell them
Definitely
we're in.
come to us if it, and let us know what that looks like as far as
Okay.
expense for that. Executive Administration Committee?
Yeah, this was something that I thought would be a good time to take a look at our bylaws, and I have included a set of our bylaws in this packet for all of you to look at and the public to look at. And it's really trying to get at, you know, some of the issues that maybe have come up recently in terms of awarding contracts and spending money and appointing new members or filling vacancies. We want to establish a process for that, so nobody's confused on the board or in the public in terms of what we should or shouldn't be doing to follow policies on the DDA board.
Sure. So-
What I've seen in our bylaws, we've amended it once. I would say there's probably some weak areas and some additions to make in there. And I've been talking to the clerk, and we would kind of work with her on bylaw suggestions and then work with the board to come back with recommendations. This is something I would like to have the executive committee take on initially and just sit and review it amongst the executive committee members. That'd be Sandra and Jeffrey and Evan. We can open it up if we have to, or if you want to, but just, you know, really look at it with a fine-tooth comb, see what we're missing. Come back to the board with a recommendation, or come back with a list of changes we think need to be addressed.
Yes, I also want to mention to Nate, being that Supervisor Martin is not here, we were kind of intending to set a date that maybe he would be willing to sit down with us for an hour and have this discussion as well, because I know that maybe he has some knowledge that maybe he could give us, even in addition to the clerk helping us. So if you'll just pass it on, it'd be more about budget information requests, or, you know, reviewing the bylaws, and then maybe even the vision for the DDA from him. So I think that would help us as a board to be, you know, compliant, on track, and all of us understand. So if you'll just pass that on to Supervisor Martin, that would be great. In addition to that, a comment was made about not knowing about executive committee meetings. Supervisor Martin is very aware of when these meetings occur, so I'm going to encourage anybody that would like to attend those meetings. They're not posted, they're not required to be posted, and so I would encourage you to reach out to him. We plan to hold them in this room, so you're free to come and go as you need to during those meetings.
Yeah, if we have
Your microphone's off.
if we have future committee meetings, usually they're talked about and initiated by the board to say, you will go and discuss these topics or projects and come back with a recommendation. You know, the committees are advisory. No decisions are being made, because we have to bring it back to the board for final approval or deny. So, you know, we want to clean that up a little bit and make it more transparent, make it more fair, so that everybody feels that they have an opportunity to.
Does anybody else on the board have any comments on committees or announcing those or the meetings? Any other input? at this point? Or any questions that you would want us as the executive committee to ask at this meeting? Okay. Just making sure. All right, then the new business, do you have anything on the MEDC match on Main grant?
Just that they're going to make a decision or announcement mid-July. I know our applicant is still working with the Township Planning Department on their request for the mobile vendor ordinance, which I think is still sitting in the Planning Commission for review. It went to the Township sent it back to Planning. I think it's still in the planning world. In fact, I think they might be discussing it tomorrow at their meeting. So hopefully the ordinance will be in place in time for the match on Main grant, which our applicant and we serve as the applicant's rep to the state. We're hoping that, we'll be successful in receiving a $25,000 grant for this project for a food truck location and eventually a restaurant over there on the corner, southeast corner of River and Michigan. That little blue building, it used to be a auto repair shop, I think, over the years.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Being that there are none, we'll move on to any board member comments.
When we go and ask somebody for a contribution, if it's going to be of a large size, is there any kind of advertising or any other kind of incentive that's given to them, like this is the project that we help pay for?
Well,
Or is that just kind of?
well, I've provided the board members, not you, Larry, and I'll get that information to you, provided the board members with our project plan, a pledge form, and a little background on how to approach and how to ask,
Yeah.
these donors.
I think what he's asking is there going to be any recognition of those who pledge, correct,
Correct.
Larry?
Oh, certainly. We haven't figured that out yet, but,
Well, it's
if
nice.
we're successful,
It's
we'll
ni-
announce it.
It's nice to know that I
publicly.
can go to somebody and say, hey, if you give $1,000, your name will be added to a plaque putting on the wall, or.
Yeah.
There will
you
definitely
know,
be some recognition.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
name's gonna be in the cornerstone or whatever, it's nice to be able to say that.
Sure.
If you're gonna ask for money, and
Yeah,
That's
I
a
know-
great
Of course.
idea.
we, it's like, people help build new high schools, everybody's got a plaque on the wall with their name on it, we donated $1,000.
Or a brick.
Right, yeah, and so if we're doing something like that, it'd be easier to go out and even ask people that don't live right in this particular area to say, hey, your township donated $1,000,
yeah,
then we're gonna put tiles on the wall, or we're, whatever.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
don't
point.
know what it would be, but
yeah, we haven't really gotten to that point, but
see,
that would be
help you
helpful.
collect the money,
Yeah,
and, so it's being overlooked.
right. Yeah,
That's a great
Good idea.
suggestion. I think I would think that as a board, we would want to recognize those, right? So
Right, but
we will,
it-
I'm just not sure what that's going to look like,
It-
especially because
It
we're
would
not sure
be-
what this project's going to look like.
Right, but it would be good to be able to say, hey, in the long run, somewhere, we will have a plan to recognize all who contributed.
yeah,
Absolutely.
And,
Yep.
because if you just, well, just donate, give me money, they're like, what?
yeah, I guess initially we were just feeling that the vision was big enough for them to feel good that, this could eventually help the district, help downtown, help their community, our community.
That's pretty much how we're selling it, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, but-
And, when they built the public museum in Kalamazoo, they have the wall with everybody's name on it.
yeah.
That's a good point. And you had people that got their name on the wall for $5 and those that
Yeah,
gave $200,000, and it was
Right, but
equal.
Yeah, but it helps. It does. It
Uh-huh.
helps. It's
Well, if you have
recognition
any-
of individual.
If anybody has any thoughts on how we do
Absolutely.
that, let us, let us know.
Any other comments? No?
Well, I think I'm sorry. During the public comment, the young lady there, I'm sorry, your name?
Emily.
Okay, Emily, you made a statement, I was kind of confused in that statement. Can you, in detail, give me what you were really saying, or break it down to me?
What statement? I guess I don't know.
What?
I was working with students at Meyer
Okay.
and was very rudely
Oh, okay.
approached.
Yeah.
And it really affected my students who struggle with communication and struggle with anxiety in like employment settings.
So is there anything that we can say or do to help that student? Encourage?
No, I mean, school's done and everybody's done their own thing. I don't know. It was like really abrupt, really aggressive. It was uncomfortable for the 3 students and I.
And you identified me as,
Yes, and then you went and, I mean, iron on patches in between the shoes and the candles. Like, and then you were walking back down. I was like, did you find it? But you were trying to like avoid eye contact, it seemed.
wow. I probably need to talk to you some more and
Sure.
Thank you.
try to recall that, but let me think. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
This happened at Myers?
May 23rd, Friday. I can give you a time.
Oh,
We can talk about it after.
yes.
On a lighter note, thank you all for your patience with me, my first time sitting up here. And I just want to let the public know, and anybody else who doesn't know, Supervisor Martin's wife had a beautiful little girl a couple days ago, their 5th child, so keep them in your prayers that they can get some sleep.
Congratulations.
And on that positive note, I also wanted to say that there have been a lot of comments on social media and to Steve and I, and hopefully to some of the DDA members about the bridge flowers and about the planters. I think it's very positive. I think that for the most part, I believe that the residents have a positive vibe about the DDA. And obviously, we've had a little negativity in the citizen comment. I think that we just need to step back and address those as well. But I'd welcome any positive comments too. So if you have any positive comments, please come to the DDA meetings. We're looking for input on projects. You've heard what we discuss here. You can email the township if there's any questions, and they can forward it to Steve or I, or even any of the other DDA members. So I encourage you to do that. If there's no other comments, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Second.
Second? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
guys time to work.
Thanks, Keith.
What they think the last meeting was, it's like, I did not have any of that kind of response from anybody except for his comments on social media. And now he's already gone, so we can't address it.
Emily?
Yeah, I know. That's why I wanted to say it.
I'm really trying to remember what I could have done. Was I joking?
No, we were probably in a hurry, but you were very like short and like, so my assistant that just had reasons.
I passed it.
Yeah, because he's nonverbal, so he can't use and you had come up and we were in the pots and pans area. We were in the reptile where like the cookie sheets are. And I was trying to figure out where it was. And I heard you talking to him, because I got talking back. So I came out there, and it was very much like, you guys volunteer here, do you know where stuff was? And I said, she's in the oils, and you questioned me twice on it. Like, you were in a hurry very much, probably was frustrated looking for these things, because you were in the wrong section, but I'm sure that you had circumvented.
Where we were standing.
Yeah, yeah.
What can I do to the policy? If I offended you or them?
I appreciate you talking to me, and then, but also, like, acknowledging it, because when you were like, oh, no, it's all time, I'm like, shake for me.
Well, what time of day was it? I can't
It
remember.
was been after lunch yesterday afternoon.
Okay. You know, I have a dry sense of humor.
Sure,
A lot of people don't appreciate that.
sure.
I'm just being aware of your
Okay.
I'd like to make
Sure, and I'm all
jokes
about
with kids,
Yeah,
make them laugh. I try to make them laugh, but sometimes it doesn't go.
yeah.
So,
Just be mindful of it.
well, yeah,
Their
I do.
communication is different, so it's like, even more, like, how do I explain, like, that some people might come off, you know, abrupt and stuff, but it doesn't mean that they feel this way. Just trying to
Slowly
get, like,
coming
space.
And believe me, I was trying to joke with them. I wasn't really critical.
Yeah.
I was, what you were doing, I do that with people sometimes, even people I don't know.
we have a couple resources.
Joking around like that.
Sure, yeah. And like understanding you now more, like,
Yeah,
it was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, like, he seems so nice and all other stuff. Like, I was just surprised. But I can see that, and also,
99% of the people I know, and you would need
yeah,
say the same thing.
Sure.
And, but every once in a while, I'll catch somebody off guard and
Yeah.
they take it wrong and get offended. So I've done that.
yeah.
I need to stop doing that. Watch what I'm doing.
Yeah. And like,
So I'm sorry.
to flip a negative into a positive, like, it truly was a moment to like unpack with my students. It was like, you know, feeling seen
Probably
in a
caught
hurry.
you off guard too,
Yeah.
and you were
Well,
frustrated and,
I'm constantly.
Who's this
like,
idiot
trying to
coming
get
by?
people, my ears out to the student and the student and the
Yeah,
student.
yeah,
Okay.
well, I'm sorry.
I appreciate that, yes, very much.
I'm sorry you had to bring it up here.
Yeah. And,
I don't know how you found out who I was.
Oh, I recognized you immediately.
Oh, did you from here or
Yeah,
from other?
yeah, from here. I've been coming here before the flowers were even.
Oh, okay, well,
And that's kind of, so that's only a concept, so it can definitely change the color.
This, it is what it is.
it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you definitely got my attention, and you got my,
You know, economically sound.
Which I guess is kind of like,
We could, which,
no hard
yes.
feelings, and they have been fun,
Connections that-
certainly.
Yeah,
The students, like,
didn't really upset them, did they?
one of them, she was like, I'm not gonna get the job better. She is on that one constantly. So it's just like, no, we have you here.
Well, my apologies again.
Yeah, totally. And I'll put that in.
Well, I'm glad you brought it to my attention.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
So that might explain why in 2024 presentation, one visualizes, we fixed that corner unit and says, this is going to be apartments over commercial, and the other one says it's going to be apartments over retail. Now, like, it can't really be both.
I see.
Maybe
This is things out there, I mean, and we come a long, yeah, we come a long way. We were with zero, we started with nothing, this idea. This is 71, we made some progress. And we're learning as we go, we're picking up new things, and learning new things, and finding out what the monies are, what we can use. And we're looking for property. We get property, I think we're about halfway there, if not all of it. Much stronger.
you were talking about the land along the river and how Irving S. Gilmore is interested in making sure you control that so that can be developed. And I'm thinking, you're of course then going to want to tie this in with with your library and your community center too, right?
Well,
It's
the
a little
whole
bit
idea
down
is
further, but
is
yeah.
to
Because
improve
they're all
all
there,
these
it's not
riverfront
that far.
components. You know, the parks want to redo their riverfront.
Right.
Obviously, on this side, they can use some attention. And then in that section across the bridge, you know, we want something nice for whatever commercial, residential, retail we have over there that people can enjoy that segment of the river.
Like he was just, I said, what's your interest? And he said, how do you, with the budget you have, how are you going to do this project? So.
So,
I'm sorry, what is your name?
Dan,
Dan, you live in Comstock?
I do. I'm just off June 32nd.
Okay, yeah, good, go with it.
Well,
It's more of, yeah, like, that's why we have Steve, we pay Steve a little bit to stay on top of this. And Steve has a lot of experience with down Zoo, with, where, Dearborn.
Dearborn and Texas Township.
So,
Dearborn.
I worked
Not exactly around here.
No, I was consulting over there with another person that I know who's had the major contract with the city to work with, they have two DEs separated by Ford Rural Headquarters and Greenfield Village. And I'm trying to bring those two districts together. So anyways, whole challenge in its own world over there. Texas Township, I was in there after 20 years. with that council.
you built all that downtown.
Yeah.
I think where we're struggling too is like, we're trying to get more direction from our township board that there's some dissension there. So we're trying, like Ben was unable to attend tonight, and so Nate's here, and he has some great questions that way. He has more questions than our supervisor that's on the board. But we really, that's why we want to ask for a meeting with Ben, the supervisor, because if we need that, for him to, we want to know if he believes in our project, or in our vision, or what we're doing. And so far, we haven't been able to gather that, and he's only been on for 6 months. And so that's kind of our next, in addition to, we are pursuing some of the property over there.
And we've been negotiating